Hey everyone, this is David Wells. If you look at all the statistics, you can find out that bullying is worse today than it has ever been. There's now 2 ways that you can help me continue to fight against bullying in the public schools. First, if you haven't subscribed to the Bully Resistance Show, it doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is just go to my website at www.davebond.org, and you'll see the banner that says subscribe to the Bully Resistance Show, and all you have to do is either click on the Android or iPhone, and you can subscribe. Now, the second way, I guess probably the most important, you can either be a one-time sponsor or a monthly sponsor as low as $4 per month. Now, what we're doing, now depending on the sponsorship that you do per month, you can receive like either digital downloads, track of the week, a digital download CD of the month. You can we could put an ad on the Bully Resistance Show podcast. You can get free tickets to my Chocolate Jazz concerts. At least this way, you're not just giving money away, but you're getting something in return. But all you have to do is go to my website at www.davebond.org, scroll down and click on the Patreon banner, and there you can actually get more information. So with no further ado, sit back and enjoy the Bully Resistance Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Bully Resistance Show with David Wells. My name is David, and today we have a special guest who is considered one of the most recorded bass players in history of music, and that is constantly on tour with the biggest names in music industry. Just to let you know a few of these names, he's worked with artists such as Michael Jackson, Phil Collins, Whitney Houston, Beyonce, Babyface, Anita Baker, the Bee Gees, Eric Clapton, Stevie Winwood, and it just goes on and on and on and on. So anyway, he is also one of the originals of the group Foreplay, and has also several solo projects out that we'll be talking about later on the show. So at this time, I want to introduce Nathan East on the Bully Resistance Show. Nathan, man, thanks so much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure, David. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So how's the weather in California?
Weather is absolutely beautiful, 73 degrees, clear skies, sunny, and couldn't wish for better.
Hey, you know, for my non-musician listeners, can you maybe spend just a little bit of time giving us a little bit more background of yourself, like where you were born and raised, about your family, and how you actually got started into music?
Yeah, I mean, born in Philadelphia, and at an early age, though, my parents moved to San Diego, and so then I spent from about then to my school years through college, and then I moved to L.A. In about 1980. And have lived there ever since. And L.A. is really, especially around the 80s, one of the kind of epicenters of the music industry. So, although I got my start at age 14 playing in the church when the folk mass era started, and there was music in the church, I discovered a bass guitar there, picked it up, started playing it, felt great. And then from there, I kind of didn't look back. I enrolled into a lot of music programs in school, and then eventually went to UC San Diego, got my degree in music. And as I was working on a master's program, my instructor Bert Turetsky said, "You know what? You should just move to LA and just start making money. Go straight to the workforce. And go make us proud. So I took his advice, and I've been working on trying to make him proud ever since.
So let me ask you this. So when you actually started making money playing the bass, was it pretty difficult, or was it all about networking and you just had job after job, or was it more of a struggle?
You know what? I'll never forget. I'll never forget the first session I did. It was actually in San Diego, but when I got paid, I was kind of looking around to see if anybody got my license number. It's like, wait a second, I just had the most fun time of my life, wow. And then they're paying me for it. And wow. Then actually, I was very fortunate. I was in a couple of local bands that were working pretty regularly, and then actually once I started in the recording, scene in LA, Gene Page, who was basically arranging everything. I was recording with Barry White, and Gene Page was the arranger. So Gene kind of got me on every gig that he was doing, So wow. Once he sort of discovered me, and he said, "Oh, you can read music and you can play," and he was very excited, and he became kind of a mentor to me. But then he just called me for every session that he did, which was like that I was working every day.
Let me ask you something, Nathan. I mean, you've recorded. I don't know. I was looking on your website a few weeks back, and I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, recordings or artists. I don't know. It's just a lot. When you go into a studio, or before you go into the studio, do you get the music, or when you get there, they say, okay, Nathan, this is the kind of music that you're going to be playing. Here's the music. Or do they say, Nathan, this is the artist. He's looking for this or that, and then you play? I mean, how all does that work for you?
It's every scenario. Every scenario you described plus more. Sometimes you go in there, there's no music, and then you either listen to the song and learn it, or you write a little chart out. Like, I do that a lot. Or you go in there and every single note that you're going to play is written, on jingles, movie soundtracks, and a lot of records. Sometimes they know exactly what they want. So, you go in there and execute that part that's already written.
Wow, man.
Which case you have to have your reading chops pretty up,
Oh, wow.
But otherwise, I've gone into where all they had is a demo. Sometimes the demo has a little demo bass part. Sometimes it doesn't. And so you're left to interpret the song and basically come up with something. I was doing an overdub in my studio last night, and my wife came by and heard me finishing up, and she just said, how do you know what to play?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I kind of am quiet for a minute and let God kind of guide my path.
That's right. You said, of course, your wife. Now, how long have you been married?
And coming up on 25 years.
25 years. And I know that you have a son, because I looked at a couple pictures on Facebook. As a matter of fact, did you guys just get back from Berkeley for a fundraiser?
Yeah, we sure did. How'd you know about that?
Well, listen, man, I'm telling you. I mean, I know a lot about you. How did that go? Pretty good?
That was amazing. It was for their alumni association at Cal, at UC Berkeley, and they have these meetings or these events where they honor their donors and the students and the outstanding scholars and alumni. And normally they don't have music, but they asked my son Noah to play piano, and then they asked me if I could accompany him.
Wow.
So it was really a lot of fun, and it's always a joy to play with my son.
So do you have one son, or how many kids do you have?
And I have twins. I have a son and a daughter, and my daughter Sarah is actually at UC Berkeley as well, and she's on the track team and studying in the biotech, like her mom, who's actually a physician, pediatrician.
Okay.
So yeah, I have twins, and they're both sophomores in college and doing great, and I'm really proud of them.
I have two kids myself. One is actually finished college, and then my son is going to be graduating from college in December. Matter of fact, my daughter just got a job and is actually moving into Nashville, which is great.
Great.
And I know that you spend some time down there, and it's just like the whole city is just growing. A lot of it seems like a lot of artists are moving to Nashville, and I don't know if it's because of the cost of living or whatever the case is. But let me ask you this: when we're talking about your kids now, do they go to a private school, or do they go to public school, or in-home schooling, or?
Well, they're at a public university now, and when we were growing up, they went to both. They went to public and private and parochial schools. So we kind of ran the gamut.
Let me ask you this, Nathan. We're probably about the same age, give or take a year or two. And I had an interview with Sinbad, who is an awesome comedian, and he lives in California as well. And
a neighbor. Yeah.
Is he a neighbor of you?
Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking and we were about, going to school. I mean, from high school, and we really don't remember the word bullying. But when you were going to school, what was school like when you were going to school? Do you remember, did you get bullied, or do you remember seeing anybody get bullied, or was it pretty smooth?
absolutely. From kindergarten, I can remember being bullied, and I can remember bullies. And throughout my school years, there's always seems to be a guy that just thinks he has the power to bully, or I don't know if it's because they're big or what, but yeah, absolutely.
Right. Did you have brothers and sisters, or was it just you?
Oh yeah, no, we come up from a big family, seven kids, 5 boys, 2 girls.
Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
now I'm actually in a family of 7. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers, of course, 7 total. Let me ask you this: was when you were getting bullied, did your parents knew about it, or did you sort of just take it on yourself and to deal with it?
Yeah, I don't think that ever made it all the way back to the parents, unless it was something pretty serious. It was just something you deal with right there.
Right. I know I was talking with Dave Cause, and of course he thinks you're a phenomenal player and a person. I was, he was telling me these different experiences where it was just like 1 or 2 people, and there would be times when he would walking down the hallway, and he would actually just get cold cocked and knocked right out. In regards to the bullying, was it more of a verbal bullying? Was it more physical, or was it just like a social alienation? Kids talking about you and everything else. I mean, what kind of bullying did you face, or did you see?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. I can remember my friend Carl Evans, who was my best friend in life. He played. He ran a band called Fatburger. He passed away, unfortunately. But and when I was in kindergarten, I can remember some kids trying to throw me over this rail of the 2nd story, and he came and sat on me and kept these guys from throwing me over. And I'm going, like, if they threw me over, I'd be dead, And
Wow.
This is like when you're 4 years old, and I'm thinking, you get a good idea early on that people can just be mean.
Right. So was it like a variety of people that picked on you? I mean, or was it just like one person, or what?
No, I mean, you get either, you realize also you get either little cliques of people or just the guy that thinks that, he's the man, and he usually has a couple people standing behind him to support him, but the thing that I think I noticed the most is when you kind of stand up to these guys, they're not so bad after all, but they just kind of want to give you that tough impression.
Right. Nathan, when of course with your twins, when they were going, of course, in school, not in college, did they have ever an issue with bullying, or did things, go all right with them?
We heard things went all right. We heard about the bullies, and from time to time, again, the cliques and there's different ways kind of to bully people now. I think it's ends up being more psychological, especially since you have social media and people are trying to shame people into something. But yeah, you hear about it, and it's unfortunately, it just seems to be such a part of life on campuses.
Right. I was talking with Sinbad, and I was telling, there was a statistic that I saw where 85% of all bullying, there's no intervention. And when I first heard that, I'm thinking, okay, obviously the teachers aren't getting involved, or the principal's not getting involved, or the parents. But what we're finding out in regards to bullying, because last year bullying is worse today than it has ever been. And but the issues that we're having is that the kids that are getting bullied, they're not letting their parents know. They're not letting the teachers know. And even the kids that witness bullying, they're not letting anybody know. And I'll defend them. The people that actually see somebody getting bullied, I think that they want to do something about it, but they're probably thinking during the time of this situation, okay, if I intervene, am I going to start? Is things going to start getting worse for me? Am I going to start getting bullied? That being said, what do you think? If you had children that were getting bullied and nothing was being done, either at school or with the bully's parents, how would you step in? I mean, would you actually go to the principal, or would you go to the bully's parents, or would you try to talk to your kids and say, listen, this is just a temporary thing, dissolve eventually?
I think you have to go to whoever's in charge, the principal, or there's somebody that would have control over something that could be done about it. And
Right.
And I think in schools, maybe one concept would be for the principals or for them to just, I mean, they don't know about every case, but if they know it does occur, then maybe they can, post something or just let people know from the front end that, this is unacceptable and it'll be dealt with, so that people don't think that they just have the right to get away with it.
Right. Matter of fact, I'm involved in jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is a big thing. You got smooth jazz, and jiu-jitsu is a big thing in California. We get all the Gracies coming in. And
yeah, I know the Gracies.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, they're great guys.
Are you involved in jiu-jitsu? I know that you're involved in. I know that you're probably involved in yoga or something like that.
Yeah, but definitely.
Okay.
And, so they're great guys.
Have you tried jiu-jitsu?
I've done kung fu and karate. I haven't tried jiu-jitsu, but they gave me all the tapes and the books and said whenever I'm ready, jump in there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So here's my situation. I teach the kids class, and the majority of the kids that come into class are bullied. And we were doing a class last night, and we asked, who all has been bullied in the room. A lot of them raised their hands. But I remember I was doing a class, and there was a bigger guy that was getting bullied all the time, and his mom just didn't know what to do, because she would go ahead and confront the teacher or the principal and say, listen, I want you to know that my son's being bullied, and I want it stopped. And it will stop for a period of time, and then it will start picking up. Well, what happened was just 2 or 3 weeks ago, her son finally had enough. He was getting bullied, and he pushed this person down. He ended up getting suspended. And it's something that, it's like a dilemma that we all have. I mean, I think my biggest, what I tell these kids is this. I think that you have to have confidence in everything that we do. I think you have to have confidence in your music. I think you have to have confidence when you go into a studio like yourself, that you're going to go ahead and knock this out. You're going to do really well. I mean, it's a mind thing, I think. Just like, you hear about these golfers, Nathan, where they're awesome when they practice, but when it comes down to competing, they just, things mess up and things don't jive like they should.
Right.
So anyway, but the son was actually got suspended. And I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't know what to do in a situation like that. What would you do, I guess, if your son was being bullied, and they weren't doing anything about it? Would you then take them into homeschooling, or would you say, listen, I'm going to give you the right to go ahead and take care of this yourself, and just to know that you might get suspended? I mean, what would you do as a parent when nothing is being done?
Yeah, well, as a parent, you got to kind of get to the bottom of the whole thing, and sometimes you'd have to maybe, deal with the other kid's parents, deal with the kid, and kind of let people know. And every situation is different, and the way you deal with every situation is probably different. Should be just, it's like every song you record is different, So,
right.
You approach on that one moment, and you approach it, this is a one given situation that needs this kind of attention. So sometimes, it's funny. Sometimes you can just, as a parent, you can give the other kid that's doing the bullying, you give them that look and just let them know, this is not going to be a good idea if you keep it up,
right.
And that might be enough. Or you might have to have a word when you see his parents and just intervene, with a little dialogue and say, listen, this is unfortunate, but this is what I hear is going on, and is there any way we can keep this from going to the next level?
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing is these things obviously happen, and if you can get past them, that's the best. But like you say, sometimes you can't, and then you take matters into your own hand, and now and somebody could get hurt, or so.
Right.
They're all unique and very special situations that just need to be looked at.
Right. I want to ask you one more question about bullying, and then I want to actually have some personal questions about you performing with Eric Clapton and all these major artists. Why do you personally think that kids, and not just kids, Nathan, I mean, we know that bullying is just not in schools, but bullying is in the communities, bullying is with politics, bullying is at health clubs, bullying is everywhere we go.
Right.
Why do you think people bully? Is it because you think that they have low self-esteem? Do you think that they've been bullied? Do you think that their parents, how they were raised, is the reason why they're bullied?
All of the above. All of the above. I was fortunately I was raised two beautiful, loving parents, and my mom, she taught me be nice. She taught me if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, don't say anything. And there are a lot of things that she taught me that I feel like have been the roadmap for my life, and every day, even though my folks are no longer with us, I kind of am grateful for them and say thank you every day of my life for the principles that they taught me. And I think that's what, so you have that, and then maybe you have another guy who's, parents taught him, I don't know, the opposite,
Right.
And so not to respect people, and you can say anything you want about somebody, you can lie, you can cheat, so it's a lot definitely has to do with upbringing and what you're taught. And then, I find that people that are very insecure tend to put on that bully image.
Right.
And it, a lot of it stems on just right from your upbringing.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Not to get off on a different subject, I've been fascinated with your career in music, and as we started communicating, I've been doing a lot of research, and to be able to play as a bass player for people like Eric Clapton or like Foreplay. Eric Clapton he's on the road constantly. Can you give us an idea what your day is like from the day that you step out of the house and about to go on tour with Eric? I mean, you go from the house, you go to the airport, from the airport, do you go to first class, you go to the venue, do you meet with Eric, do you rehearse? I mean, give us a day you on the road with Eric Clapton.
Yeah. Well, first of all, and the fact that we've been, touring around the world now for more than 35 years is testament to the fact that to how great a guy he is, and he turned into much more than an employer, but like a brother, a mentor. I mean, he's been very, very, very dear to our entire family. I knew his grandmother, his mother, a lot of his family, and we just all came very close. My parents used to go see us at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and we'd all visit and have dinner, and so not only that, and he's a wonderful, a generous employer. When they call, a car comes and picks you up from the house, and once you get, once you leave, they take an excellent care of you. Transportation, hotel, everything is just, beautiful, first class, top notch. And what we normally do is rehearse, a few days back in the day, we'd rehearse sometimes for as much as a month before a tour. Now that we know all the songs pretty well, we get in there and maybe do a week of brushing up, and it gives everybody a chance to just, get the set played in, and then we go, start going around the world. And a lot of times there's a private jet charter, which makes it a lot easier when you're covering
a private jet. Okay, so wait a second. So Nathan, so there's no commercial airplane that you have to get on. That you don't get picked up by a taxi. You get picked up by an actual individual that takes you straight to the jet, right? And then from the jet you go. Okay.
Yeah, and when you land, there's cars on the ground right at the plane to take you to the next destination. You know.
Did you? Let me ask you this. When and I know that you deserve, with all the hard work and the years that you've been in recording and on the road, that you deserve to be pampered like this, that you deserve to, be treated like this. But are there times like you're thinking to yourself, man, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is this is like a dream. I mean,
well, every day I wake up, I feel like I'm in a dream, and I never really approach it from, oh, I deserve this, or I've done this, so I deserve, I kind of approach it more from, oh, I appreciate this, and I'm grateful for this, because, trust me, we've done everything from A to Z to, sleep on anvil cases on a Greyhound bus back in the day,
right.
to, bus, taxi, cab, walk, run, everything in between, stayed at the funkiest, diviest places, where you have to share a room, or the most beautiful places like you're in a palace, And so I, every day I wake up, first thing I do is say my prayers of gratitude, and if I don't feel a pine box, then I know it's going to be a good day,
Right.
As they say, if you're not in the obituary, eat breakfast,
That's right. Let me ask you this. So can you tell me one of your lowest moments working with Eric Clapton? It could be from a sound check. It could be from you forgot your bass. It could be that the drummer forgot his sticks. Anything.
I think the darkest day was when I was in Chicago, and we had 4 helicopters taking us to and from the Alpine Valley for a show. And the day I actually deviated from the tour and jumped in a plane and took Greg Fillinganes with me and flew back, the next morning I got the news that Stevie Ray Vaughan had jumped in that seat, and a couple of our tour managers, and that the helicopter went down, and that was the darkest day of my life, And it was frightening, because I had taken that same helicopter and flown with that same pilot there and back the night before, and there that night. So I was absolutely scheduled to be in that seat, And
wow.
So it was just it was a very, I'll never forget. This is the darkest day of my life.
Wow. I was, I spent a lot of time, of course, in public schools, but also I spent a lot of time playing in churches. And no matter, even if it's a jazz festival, there's one hymn that I play, and it's called It Is Well With My Soul. And we're familiar with that because the writer of that song, within 2 years, okay, this guy, the writer of this It Is Well, are you familiar with the hymn It Is Well?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the writer. Okay. So he's a man of integrity. He went to church on a regular basis. He had a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. He was an attorney. He had real estate in Chicago. And what a lot of people don't know, within 2 years, Nathan, he lost his newborn son. He lost a lot of his real estate in a Chicago fire. And then within 2 years, he lost his daughters in the shipwreck. And after all that, he was still inspired to write It Is Well With My Soul, which is really powerful. But going from something depressing like that, what was one of your highest, or the highest moments in working with Eric Clapton? Was it the venue, or was it the pay raise, or what?
Well, and again, on a daily basis, it feels like a high, and we just did the Crossroads Guitar Festival in Dallas, and as gigs go, that was just about as good as you get when you look around, and Billy Gibbons, John Mayer, Buddy Guy, James Burton, and it was just like everywhere you turn, Joe Walsh, there were just all these great players. And, every genre, every style, and to get to kind of stand on stage and play with these guys is just amazing. Wow. And Eric was at the, he was at the, the leadership. You know, he was kind of guiding the whole thing along. But I mean, we've had so many incredible experiences. Played for the Queen of England and Nelson Mandela at the Royal Albert Hall. That's pretty nice, you know, to be in the audience and with those guys. But I mean, I've had so many amazing experiences, you know, standing on the stage of the Lincoln Memorial Steps with Bono and James Taylor and Stevie Wonder and the entire music industry playing for the inauguration of President Obama, you know, for 2 million people.
Oh my gosh.
You look out and see the sea of people, and I was, you know, I had a picture of my, you know, grandparents and parents on my music stand because they wouldn't have seen, you know, the first black president elected, but it was like an emotional moment. It was just like a once in a lifer, you know, and very, very powerful. And you know, I wake up feeling very blessed on a daily basis, you know.
Right. You know, I was I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain this. You know, throughout the years, I've actually been traveling full time for about 18 years, and I believe this. I believe that everyone has a special gift and a special talent that's given by God, and
absolutely.
And if we choose to be average, that's fine. If we choose to be successful, that's up to us. You know, a lot of times I was just sharing in a school assembly, the kids' mentality, there's no drive, there's no ambition, there's no setting goals, there's no dreams that they're having, and I don't, you know, honestly, I can't figure it out myself. But I tell them, I said, guys, when the easiest choice that we can make, when things get rough, either at home or in school or in music or in sports, the easiest choice for us to make is to quit. Anybody can quit. I said the people that the hardest choice to make is not to quit. Now, I don't know about you, but oftentimes I don't look at your career and I'm jealous. I look at your career and I am so tickled to death that you are using your gift all over the world, and especially, Nathan, your attitude through the emails that I would be receiving from you, and even on your website, you just come across with such a humility. It's not a false humility. It's just like, you know, it's just hard to describe. But anyway, oftentimes there's people that want to quit. I mean, there has to be some times when you felt like you wanted to quit. You wanted to throw in a towel if it's because things might have gotten a little stressed at home with the wife and kids, or was there ever a time where you just think, okay, maybe I need to step back from my career, or did everything always work out for you?
Well, I mean, to speak to that, and thank you for the compliment. I kind of take it back to family life, and my wife and I often comment on like, how do you take two folks that come out of the neighborhood, you know, and you know, all of a sudden you look up and you're sort of living this dream life, you know. Now, is every day, you know, completely roses? No. You know,
right.
Is the sunshine every day? No. There's some days it's rainy and you get really wet, you know.
Sure.
And, you know, in our lives, you know, we'd be foolish to think that the sun's going to shine every day. So obviously there's heartbreaks and things that are going to grab our attention. And I'm kind of one of those guys that's kind of, you know, I analyze life on a daily basis. I look up and I try to figure out, like, you know, how would I be able to personally leave this world better? And you know, if I ever look at somebody else and think that I can either analyze or criticize, then I just turn right to myself and say, well, you're the first guy and the only guy really that you have control over, you know. And
right.
So I can try to impart that wisdom onto my kids as much as I can. But when it's all said and done, you know, we look in the mirror, that's the person that we have control over their thoughts, their actions. And, you know, one day I may just wake up and say, you know what, I don't feel like going out in the world today or something, you know, and
wow.
I may just stay down, you know, and then, but I always try to, get into habits that encourage me to get up and do yoga in the morning. I get my meditation in, I get my prayer in, and my gratitude, and that always kind of is a springboard for everything that I do, And then I try to surround myself with like-minded people that are kind of upbeat and not, so the conversation isn't always down,
Man, that is so true. That's so true. I think not to interrupt you, but I think the people that you hang around with, matter of fact, Nathan, I have just 2 more minutes and then we'll wrap things up. In regards to making choices, another thing that I was sharing with the high school students, I said, we have 2 kinds of friends that we are surrounded with. I mean, we have friends that are really rooting for us, friends that, are going to pick us up when we're down. They're going to, encourage us and everything else. They really want to see us succeed. But there's another side of friends where they want to drag you down. They want to distract you. They want to see you fail. But see, what makes you different is that obviously you're making the final choice of being successful. You're making the choice of hanging around the right people to stay motivated, which I think is an awesome thing. Before we go, I want to just ask you just a few questions. They're just simple one-word answers, and then they're called my super questions, and then we'll wrap things up. Is that all right with you?
Sounds good.
Okay. What's one word that best describes you?
Oh, man.
I know, man. I can tell you.
What do you have?
Love.
Again, it's hard to describe yourself because it's kind of always kind of working. But I would just say up.
What is one of your biggest pet peeves? Now, this can be either at home, this can be on the road, your band. But what is one of your biggest pet peeves? You know what? I was thinking about this last night because when I drive home, one of my biggest pet peeves is somebody following behind me, and I look, and it seems like then I'll turn left, and they turn left, and when I turn right, they turn right, and I don't know why, but it just drives me nuts to the point where, like, I'll pull over and let them pass because it just feels like, wait a second, what's going on, And so right.
I was just thinking that coming home last night. I said, why am I so bugged that when somebody's behind me, and then it seems like shadowing every move. But no, I don't have standing in lines and a lot of times it's just the normal things that drive people crazy. Traffic, sitting in traffic, but
okay.
I try not to get too bugged by too much.
Let me ask you one more question. Tell me something true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
That nobody agrees with me on.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
We know that you're the best, greatest bass player in the world. So, I agree with you there.
Well, I actually believe in real magic, and I'm a magician. A member of the Magic Circle in England and the Magic Castle here in America, and
really,
and so it's one of my kind of hobbies. But I actually believe in real magic. Like when I look up some of the magical things that are happening to me, I just look up and say, and of course I think that's magic, blessings, things that just happen that you just say, I could have never dreamt this up in a million years. And it's happening, and it's a beautiful thing, So,
awesome.
I totally believe in magic, and I just wanted to, get back to a little bit of the approach. I'm a private pilot as well, and when I and I love flying. I'm an airplane. I was an airplane owner, but the approach to life to me is what I work on the most. And in flying, when we're about to land, and landing is probably the most dangerous part, because that's where you're gonna, you're either gonna walk away from it or not,
Sure.
But, and then of all the landings that I end up doing, and I just try to make the most perfect, beautiful landing. So the only way you do that is in the approach. The approach starts, way out. It starts at the beginning of the flight, but as you're approaching the landing, You have to have your altitude right. You have to have your speed right. And those things have to be coordinated so that when you actually get to that runway, your wheels touch down right on the numbers,
Oh,
and you're not going too fast. You're not going too slow, because too slow, you're going to drop like a manhole cover. Too fast, you're going to, you won't be able to stop. If you're too high, it's not going to work if you're too low. So the approach is the most important thing. So you start setting your approach out, 50 miles out. You're 100 miles out. Yeah,
Lord.
Setting up your approach. You're getting your speed. You're getting so that when you actually touch down, your wheels touch down, and they just glide over those numbers. And that a real quick story, because after my son, and this is a recent story, and it kind of ties in with the bully and everything. Okay. But after my son and I played at UC Berkeley the other night, and the gig finished at around 10 o'clock, we went back to his apartment, and we took the keyboard that we had taken to the gig. We set it back up, and he plugged it in, and he has a little amp. I'm talking a little amp, so we were playing a little bit. And it's after 10, granted, Saturday night, but we weren't playing. It wasn't crazy loud. So next thing you know, I hear this bang on the door, like the door is going to be broken down. So we're sitting there, and then we stop, and then we hear the bang again. It's like the most ferocious bang, like you're almost kicking the door. Yeah. So he goes to the door, and when he opens it, a man, I can't even repeat what he said, but to paraphrase, he said, if I hear another effing note, I'm going to shove that effing piano down your effing throat.
Are you serious?
With the most angry, vitriolic tone. I mean, now this isn't after an entire evening of, hey, please, guys, can you say, this is like the first time he shows up and I'm thinking, wait a second. And then my son diffused the situation before I could get up and say my piece. He had, yeah, my bad, sorry, and the door was closed. But the thing about it is, the way this guy threatened my son was completely the approach that turns things into that. This is why we have these problems. Now, if I'm the guy, I'd come up and say, please, guys, I have to be at work at 6, or I've been, because then there's ways to approach things so that they don't go out of hand. But, and I feel it's my responsibility to report that neighbor to the apartment manager, because
sure, like,
how are you going to just roll up on somebody's and just, deal with it like that? So to me, that's a modern day bully, obviously somebody that's been living there and, doesn't want students there or whatever. And again, we were not, it wasn't a band jamming. We were, we had the volume down pretty low, little tiny speaker, so this is what I work on every day. What is my approach to life going to be? And it can be one of two ways. You can either bang on the guy's door and cuss him out, or just say, sorry, sir, I was just wondering if I could trouble you guys to just turn it down just a little bit.
That's exactly right, man. It's your approach. I mean, like you said, that was awesome, man. In regards to the airplane and touching and landing, and then approaching and life and dealing with bullies. Well, listen, that's about all we have for the Bully Resistance Show with David Wells. And we want to thank all the sponsors that are supporting the Bully Resistance Show. Also, I want to encourage all the listeners to go on my website. If you haven't subscribed to the show, you just go to www.davebond.org. And so until next time, thanks for listening.